afternoon all, and welcome one more time here on your afternoon drive live with Maponga J, broadcasting from Johannesburg, South Africa. I hope you are all fine and well on the face of the earth, wherever you are, whether you are in the north, you are in the south. We send you greetings. We send you greetings, and we want to share these moments of life together with you. Enda yando womtasabo ndi vuo. I'm sending you greetings there in my Venda, my people. Those are my people there up in Venda, where my grandmother comes from. I'm excited one more time to be with you. I'm still alive. I'm not dead yet. I'm still kicking. I'm still breathing. And I see my uncle, my father from Britain, Chenjerai Maponga is on the line. Mahura is on the line. Apostle Sianda Njoloza, Molo Mhlobo Wami. Saubona, Tata Njoloza. Wana Bezel Muchema, wana Maponga Magadinu Koko Goldi, Tendai Mutuda. Tiswana Mkanya. I'm excited to be with you again today on another episode of your afternoon drive. Constantly on this channel, we pushing the boundaries of thinking, allowing new narratives to take place. Many people may not fully comprehend or understand or appreciate the world from where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to achieve through these conversations that we have started on our social media space. I've seen a few comments in inboxes and etc. Some people saying they are missing me. There's a preacher, Maponga J, the pastor, come back to church, come back home, come back to the Adventist church, and all that patronizing kind of speech where people just are groupies who think that there is comfort in numbers, not discomfort in thinking. And at the end of the day, people get very worried when you seem like you are not thinking like how they are thinking. And for this afternoon, I want us to look at a very important element. We saw, as I mentioned the other week, the bending down of a big tree, the setting down of the sun in the south under the Angoni tribes, the passing on of King Goodwill Zwelithini, and some people felt we don't have to celebrate, we don't have to send commentary. Immediately after I put my comment out on my condolences to the royal house of HY Dinuzulu, some people felt that was ill thought because they feel we don't have to celebrate another king because he's not one of us. But purely on the basis of being an African, I think whenever any one of the royalties pass away, we all have lost a king. So to speak, we all have lost one of us. Even if he was not a king, the fact that he is a human being, one with us, we sat on this position of influence, we all needed to show some amount of respect for that. And I did that purely with that understanding, and bearing in mind also that over and above the Zulu monarchy, which we see getting established in the late 17th, 18th century through Shaka here in South Africa, in the plains of KwaZulu, the great Zimbabwe kingdom had been doing trade with the Chinese, the Phoenicians, and the Portuguese people as early as the 11th, 12th, 13th century. And the great kingdom of Mwenemtapa, which is the Zimbabwe kingdom, though it is underplayed in the south, you would find that we have the Mwenemtapa kingdom in the south, with the biggest of the strongholds being in Zimbabwe. arguments are still taking place between the Afrikaners and the Zimbabweans as to which one is older, whether it is Mapunga that gives birth to Zimbabwe, or it is Zimbabwe that gives birth to Mapunga. That argument leaves itself in the hands of those that write history. But Zimbabwe being the biggest and the most eloquent of them, with more than 200, I thought there were 170 something, I only discovered the other day, with more than 260 something pyramids and ruins around the southern hemisphere. I'm not saying history has no friend. So when you study history, you need to put your emotions aside and discuss history for pure reasons of understanding the truthfulness of history. So in the south, the great Mutapa kingdom, as early as the 11th, 9th, 10th century, then we need to appreciate their presence in the south as a reality, with ruins stretching over from Muchena tribes in Tete, the lower basins of Tanganyika and Zambia, the upper side of the Zambezi River, into the other lower sides of Angola, parts of Namibia, Botswana, Domboshava, and move over into southern part of Zimbabwe, the Kami ruins, move into the southern parts of Africa, Mapunguge, move over into Gazankule and etc., and begin to understand that the Mutapa kingdom, though in the terms of our history with our political boundaries, now South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana and etc., which are actually an institution of the Berlin Conference, which is the Congo Conference. We need to understand that before the Berlin Conference was instituted, here we are as Africans, the biggest and most influential monarch and kingdom that we had in the south, and I'm not mixing my words, is the great Mutapa kingdom. And that's a fact. The Tswanas, the Zulus, the Xhosas, the Pedis, the Vendas, the Shanganis, the Bembas, the Karangas, the Korekores, the Nanambias. We cannot run away from our history that is written in stone, for that is the basis of the kingdoms of the south. And how civilization, colonization, and the great Bantu migrations later on manifest themselves into creating a narrative of African history. But in its authenticity, the greatest kingdom in the south is the Mutapa kingdom, which happens to be, of course, sorry for playing my own. Some people say, hey, Maponga, you like blowing your own trumpet. You like blowing your own horn. Actually, in real life, I play trumpet, so I can play my own horn. I can blow my own trumpet. This is not a secret. Go back and do your research. Before the colonialists came, which kingdoms were in the south? Go back as early as the 9th, the 10th, the 12th century. When you go back into that history, you will find that the great Mutapa kingdom is an established kingdom from which I belong. And my grandfather's land did not only occupy Zimbabwe, it occupied Zimbabwe, it occupied Mozambique, it occupied South Africa, it occupied parts of Zambia, parts of Malawi, and parts of Namibia, and that whole hinterland of the south. Then in the middle of Congo, we have the great kingdoms of the Waganda people. And on the south, you have the Congo kingdom. And from the Congo kingdoms in the south, which is Waganda and the Congo, then moving over further into north, then you have the Ethiopian kingdom, well established, where Haile Selassie comes from. You move over into Central Africa, you have tribes of Mali, tribes of Somalia, and tribes of Cameroon coming together, also under a dynasty. Egypt was seeming to be moving towards a pro-European space. So their dynasties in the terms of the pyramids was getting diluted constantly because they were rushing to join the Europeans. But down in the northwest, in the south rather. Then you have the kingdoms of Nigeria, the kingdoms of Benin, and not forgetting, of course, Timbuktu. And these are the 5 major kingdoms that you'd find, which is the Great Zimbabwe, the Congo Kingdom, and the kingdoms of Ethiopia, and the kingdoms of Nigeria, of course, not forgetting Giza in the north. So, pre-colonialism, you need to understand that I am Mwene Mtapa himself in the south. And as early even as your biblical history has it, we had King Solomon's mines here, both in Zimbabwe and in the south, which were being administered in terms of digging out and sending out gold both to the Middle East and to the Far East region. And this is the history that our people, you young people, need to start appreciating. I know many of you are caught up in what I might want to call national politics. I am South African, I am Ugandan, I'm Tanzanian, I am what, and I am I'm Swaziland, and I'm Lesotho. And that small little history is locked up in the 18th century, late 17th century, coming up this way, when royalties were destroyed, the queens of London came into Africa, destroyed the monarchs that were here, tried to build around themselves subjects of the royal monarch of Britain. And I look at our young people, some of them slightly educated, some of them with 1 or 2 degrees. We cannot go back to the past. Maponga J, stop romanticizing things that are in the past. Let's just move forward. Move forward to where? Because by refusing to look back in your history, you are a subject of the British royal monarch. You run away from your own kings. You end up in the hands of a British queen and king. Put it between your heads and start thinking like an African. Your constitution is British. Your judges are British. Your police are British. Your army is British. They salute, they march, they do everything, they lift up flags, they blow horns, they do whatever. The whole protocol of your security is based on British statutes. And then you don't want to be ruled, you don't want to be managed, you don't want to be governed by an African. You'd rather be governed by a democratic system, which is a prostitute of the Roman Dutch law, which is sleeping with the queen herself. As long as we have judges and police and armies that are running on Africa, all these principles are being managed by the British Royal House of Britain. So you must make a decision by yourselves as Africans. And don't have to take out your anger on me. I am not the problem. I'm not the problem. Your history is the problem. The information is your problem. Because you have come up to accept the Freemasonry, the cultic rituals of the British and the European monarchs to govern you as Africans, and then you undermine, you despise your own history because you think that a colonial history is superior because it frees you from your own kings. It frees you from your own history. It frees you from your tradition. It frees you from your diaries and timetable and calendar. And in the midst of colonization and seeming democratization and academic proliferation, you feel like your own history is subject, it is subservient, it is inferior to colonial history. So you walk around in schools, you go to study about queens and princesses, you learn about fairy tales, you learn about poetry of the British and etc., poetry of the French and etc., the art and etc. of Michelangelo's and Van Gogh's, and you come back from school, you're seemingly educated, and African stuff is primitive. If it is primitive, then what is African art doing in civilized economy? What is African literature doing in civilized economies? If yours is primitive, you don't want to watch your You don't want to appreciate your own history in your backyard. I lived in London for more than 4 or 5 years. I lived there. I would pay not less than 50 to 60 pounds to go and watch and look at the arts that are in London Museum. And you walk in there, all those artifacts that are there are stolen from Congo, stolen from Southern Africa, stolen from India, stolen from everywhere else. Now, when they are there in the British Museum, oh, this is civilization. I spent the whole day at the museum today looking at ancient history. You look there, the fragments of the pots that are stolen from Egypt. You look there, fragments of swords and spears that are stolen from Africa. You look there, pieces of cloths that belong to kings and rings and headgears that are stolen from your own African kings, because the queen has put them in a glass. Now this becomes a history worth celebrating. It's a civilized history. But your own backyard history that looks you in the eye, it's primitive. I, as an African, cannot be ruled by another African. Oh, good luck. You want to be ruled by a white person? Go ahead and be ruled by a white person. And Western economies have always built their standards on robbing Africans and putting illegitimate surrogate government political leaders to manage their products so that constantly they can be harvesting and destroying African culture, African spirituality, African fashion, African food, and everything else. And stupid, educated Africans are the biggest problem that we're dealing with right now, especially those with 1 or 2 degrees, a master's degree and a doctorate over there, because they don't want to tamper with the system. Don't disturb the system. Maponga J, we cannot look at the back. Let's move forward. To where? Where are we moving to? Let's move to the West. If we were Roman Dutch, then give all of us passports to become Dutch citizens. If we are British, then give all of us passports, permits, and visas to become British citizens. No. The British can come to Africa with no visa. But you cannot go to London. You need a visa. And the visa will not cost you less than 3,000 bucks, plus a bank statement, plus a history of who you are and etc. So that you can, but your country is being run by the same monarch and your government is a subject of the royal monarch. I don't understand you, my African brothers and sisters, as to what sort of drugs have you taken to insult your mother and praise your neighbor's mother. How do we begin to deal as Africans with the truthfulness and honesty of our history so that we make decisions that can buy the future with our history? Our governments are illegitimate. Our education system is illegitimate. How do you teach children to go and count how many legs does a grasshopper have? How many, what is the sex of a mosquito? And after you have your degree in your back, you must come and look for employment. This education is totally disconnected from African life. Because here we are on the continent. Education must speak to how do we dig for gold? Because we have it. How do we clean water? Because we have it. How do we make furniture? Because we have the wood. How do we breed fish? Because we have the dams. How do we make fashion? Because we have the skills. By the time we graduate in our schools, we need to walk out of our schools not with pieces of paper that are seeking employment, but we walk away with skills that can convert indigenous knowledge systems into business. Right now you're watching me, some of you, you're busy admiring, oh, that's a beautiful head. I made this myself. I made it myself. Yes, with my hands, I made it myself. Now, If I should give you the skills on how to make it for yourselves, why can't we create an industry and factories that produce these basic things and make it commercial? I'm not saying African spirituality can be commercialized, but for what it is worth, someone can make money out of the art forms to make a living. It costs me less than $400-500 to make a hat. Even if right now I can say I'm selling this hat for $1,000, you are prepared to pay for it. So why not convert our genius, cultural knowledge, information into economics and packaging and marketing, and then present ourselves to the world so that we can begin to realize the benefit of our knowledge system. By refusing to harvest your own indigenous knowledge, you are automatically subjecting yourselves to colonial culture, colonial education, colonial medicine, colonial fashion, colonial entertainment, and as long as your minds are locked up that solutions are coming from the West, you are a perpetual slave, you are a perpetual surrogate child, you are a perpetual servant of the colonial system that you hate, and you promote it by your finances, by rejecting and downplaying your own cultural knowledge systems. How do I help my African brothers to begin to think in a progressive way? Just by resisting colonial stuff and embracing yourselves as Africans, we will begin to suffocate the budget of the colonialist. Simple recipe. We don't want weapons of war to go and fight. No, it's too late for fighting right now. They have bigger bombs than us. They will kill us before we even start. But if I wake up in the morning and I refuse to spend my money on a colonial master, or I begin to reduce the amount of money I spend in colonial systems, and I begin to take the same amount of money, even as simple as buying bread, for example. Buying bread. And you say, okay, I will not buy my bread from a European shop. I will support a black business. I will not buy my vegetables from a white shop. I will support a black business. I will not buy my shirts or trousers or shoes from a white shop. I will support a black brother. I will not get my car serviced by a white man. I will support a black brother. I will not bank my money with I will support a black business. By using all these small little investments, it might look to you like it's a 5 rand, it's a 10 kwacha, it's small money. But if all these small monies are put together to the 1, 3, 2 billion people on the face of Africa, do you notice the quantity and quality of economy that Africa has in its hands? The question is not, what are the colonialists doing to us? The question is, how as Africans are we supporting the colonialists to continue oppressing the black people? And they do so through the support of the economic system in the hands of the black people who constantly support their business. And with money, you can make decisions. So there you are. You'd rather take your money and give it to the colonialists, and they are the Mapongas sitting on the internet here, talking to you on Facebook, making lots of noise, lots of useless noise. And they make noise. Even worse, they don't even have the financial means, they don't have the financial support, they don't have the financial muscle so that what they say can come to sight. Where is your money for insurance? Where is your money for investments? Where is your money for food? Where is your money for clothes? Where is your money? Your money is with colonial institutions. And yet you want change. There will be no change in Africa until we begin to speak and talk about economic sanctions on the colonialists. How do we as Africans begin to implore sanctions on colonial businesses, on Eurocentric capital monopoly? How do we throttle the neck of colonial businesses It's simply by boycotting those businesses and beginning to invest in our own businesses. So I'm not saying let's stop. Let's create a parallel system. Banking, parallel system. Internet, parallel system. Car manufacturing, parallel system. Cell phone manufacturing, parallel system. Fashion, parallel system. Medicine, vaccines, parallel system. Fashion, parallel system. Without necessarily making noise on the colonialists, we slowly in each country begin to put our critical financial mass into our indigenous businesses. In less than 10 to 15, if not 20 years, the colonial businesses will pack their bags and go back home, because the African will not drink Western alcohol, Western juices. You drink local juices. The African is woken up. He will not dress up colonial clothes, put on local clothes. The African will not buy a colonial car. You'll buy a localized car. The African will not log on Facebook, where Zuckerberg is banning me every 2 days. We will put our social network on African networks and support ourselves. The African will not, and no one will force us as Africans to do what we don't want to do. This is where you must understand. It is the choice and the decisions that Africa must make about herself and her finances and her business and her health and her reproduction and her land. That colonial businesses will slowly but surely be shifted out of focus. Take note, this project has taken them 400 years. Yes, I can see you, Livone Tokozani. You are saying that I'm drinking marula, which is a traditional herb. And when I talk like this to some of you young people, to you I sound like a drunk person. But I'm not drunk actually. I'm angry. When children such as you, who are born in 1990 and 2000, will come on my platform to insult me like you're insulting me. As a young lady, Livone Tokozani, sit down, young boy. Sit down, young lady. You have not seen anything in this life. When one morning you wake up from your marula drink, what I'm saying to you right now will begin to make sense. And I don't appreciate such type of comments coming out on my space saying that. And if I were you, Lebohane Tokozane, you will apologize for saying that. That is totally disrespectful for a young kid of your age to come on my page and insult me like that. You must go home and ask your mother and ask your father and grow up. And stop spending your childish energy on such platforms. We are not here to play games of childish expressions such as you are doing. We are here to build a nation. When you are sitting with the elders, close your mouth, open your ears. Close your mouth and open your ears. And a child who knows how to wash their hands, they will be given a table with kings and with elders in the village. And right now you are putting your hands on the dish where we are eating with dirty hands. Go and wash your hands, young person. Liboane Tokozane, go wash your hands, and you can come and join the adults here where we are discussing issues of development of Africa. What I'm talking about right now is building the nation for the next generation. And when you have young people such as you who are still constipated with colonial knowledge, that you come on my page and insult me for drunkenness, when I'm trying to share the repair of a country, it's a shame. It's a shame. Shame on you, Leboane. Shame on you. My brother will save you. He has apologized on your behalf, and you will be forgiven for that. But as Africans, how do we begin to have a conversation and convert and change, maneuver and manipulate the narrative that is sitting on us. With those few words, I thank you and wish you all a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. My apologies if there was an outburst right there. But some of these kids, I suggest, defriend me. Come on, guys. If your mind is not ready, please just unfriend. Go join a church. Go join a group. Go find a pastor somewhere there who will speak what you want to hear. You don't come to farmers of thought with such shallow minds and you throw in such childish commentary on a public space. I don't think it is nice. So if you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, and you are young, please go to your teachers and grow up. When you are mature enough to have a meaningful conversation, you can join us on a public forum where adults are talking. And we are not talking from foolishness. We're talking from knowledge and understanding. We have been in this system now for half a century. And I'm turning 52 now. I think I've seen a little bit. Allow me to talk. With those few words, I thank you. I wish you all a wonderful afternoon and enjoy yourselves. Stay away from trouble. Ndeo, Blakey Bogie, nice to see you, man. I've missed you for a long time. No fourth, your fellas. Nice to have you also. And Mutokimang. And Libone Tokozane. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. And when we are at work, respect a bit of that. Respect a bit of that, and you will receive the same in advance. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all a good evening and blessings upon you. May the spirits of the land rest upon you. And until we see you again here on your afternoon drive live with Maponga J from South Africa, discussing African politics, African science, African medicines, and everything else between. Getting African people discussing their own African problems and finding African solutions. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.